learned from the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the Dow, hold it down, we gon' get it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your Watchlist coming in at September 9th, 2020, and the stock market is going crazy. We saw another 4% down day. However, after hours right now, the market slipped another 4 points, kind of big, but reason being not really what you expected, kind of out of nowhere, but Astrazeneca halted their phase 3 study. Now, talking about the one in the UK, I don't know yet if it's the United States or not, but this has some big implications. This is a new set of vaccine news. So we have a lot to talk about with that, not to mention this whole tech sell-off. Apple dropped another 4 or 5% today. Tesla fell over 20%. It was pretty wild. We're seeing after hours moves now. So I hope you guys are ready. It's going to be an exciting week. So I got the plays. I have a little bit of strategy, the making it free and kind of how most of the action is happening, kind of pre-market, post-market. Got to be prepared for that and even reacting, but I got a few set of plays for you. I have the plays and then also what happened today and kind of what I'm looking at for the rest of the month or how to kind of even play September, because every day that's going on so far, even what we're seeing today, we're able to learn a little bit from it, and this is how I am reacting. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's that first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free 99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/TheStockMarket. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch the watch list come to life, and yes, the Chad VIX CVIX is in full effect, but I don't think we've seen it quite yet. So if you want to see what's going on with the market when things go crazy, we will see you there. And the most important thing you need to do, post or watch this below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything, post them below and source that info. I want to put up NVAX as we watch this. There's counter plays, but shout out to Chad, baby. Right off the bat, the first thing I want to talk about, well, I have a lot as you could see, but this Astrazeneca UK study. So it got halted. This is why the market's dropping after hours. To give it some context, we dropped what, about 8-9 points on the SPY today, not the S&P 500, the SPY, and just dropped 4 more after hours. So this was actually a pretty big response. It's negative vaccine news, but it's an adverse reaction. They're halting it. And why I'm saying this is interesting news, because this is the first phase 3 candidate to be put on hold. So I think there's like 7 or 9 companies right now during these phase 3s. They've been rushing it, talking about it, but none of them have been put on hold. So to halt a study is pretty big. That's why this is a decent size reaction from the market. We'll see what happens. And then there is some other news after hours, and we're going to talk about that with the currencies and all that. I want to show you guys some stuff, but there is some news occurring over there. But that is why we're seeing the drop after hours. Now, as far as what happened in the market today, the Nasdaq has already dropped 10%. 10-15% is pretty much a correction. So we are just at higher levels. So the real question is if 10% is enough to say, okay, things are kind of leveling out, or we have to go back to reasonable prices, meaning you could kind of tell what's reasonable, what's not. I mean, you've seen Tesla. However, when we get into the plays, we'll talk about this. You'll see not everything's moving the same. Again, the Nasdaq and what we've been seeing with Apple and all that, Tesla, it is different than all the other stocks. There is still a lot of stocks and a lot of big companies, and they're all not reacting the same even today. And we talked about that yesterday coming into today. Kind of what I'm going to show you, looking at what we saw, kind of give you my broader thesis here, but the drop we saw today in this overall 10% move, it's really technical in the sense that now up until today, and we'll see tomorrow with this AstraZeneca news, there wasn't anything really causing this. So that's what makes it technical in the movements, but it's also now fundamental on the same side, just for the fact that things like oil and dollar and the bonds and the commodities are moving. Even think back to silver a few weeks ago. Everything is connected, and we started seeing kind of one thing move, and it took time to develop and digest throughout the market, but the market's moving right here, right now in this last few days, not really off of anything, but now we're finally seeing stuff move like oil. And then weeks before that, we saw crazy move on the commodities. You even saw crazy moves in tech and other assets. So I'm kind of thinking about how all this is connecting and how we're even going to go about playing this, because now, again, the question right now, when we've dropped 10% on the Nasdaq, when you're seeing these moves, are we going to keep going lower? Is this going to be a buyable dip opportunity? What is going to happen? What is going to happen in the broader sense with COVID, the crash, crisis, anything, recovery? What is it? But what I'll say with that is, I'm expecting a September cuck, kind of what you saw today, where it's not going to do anything. That's what we mean by cuck. It's just going to sit there. We're going to watch it. Or this may be something where it's kind of enough for investors for now in September. Maybe it drops a little lower, stays here, kind of rips up, goes a little higher. But then if anything, I would expect real action to occur in October. This might just kind of be a lot of movement up and down, but we won't see the real, okay, big move. But like I said, the question is 10% enough? And that is really going to be the question coming into tomorrow. And watch out for the pricing of stuff. So watch for something bigger than news to develop, or kind of even the news we've had. And it'll kind of be one of those things like currencies moving. Again, we've seen a lot of that. And that's something I want to show you guys. We'll get to that when we talk a little bit about some of the plays. But if something like that develops, again, bonds, dollar goes crazy, then wait for some piece of news or the straw to break the camel's back to occur. Or in that sense too, vice versa, to send the markets back up, where if things kind of level out and if the market doesn't keep going down fast, don't underestimate the market's ability to adjust quickly, and it won't be as scared if it kind of doesn't keep dropping at a fast pace and people are necessarily liquidating. So my cash balance is reflecting what I'm looking for here. You know, again, if I think it's going to be a cuck this month, I think there's going to be a lot of these kind of aggressive little sell-offs, maybe a bounce, maybe do nothing, kill premium, then a little bit move up, and then another kind of quick move down. But our strategy accounts for it, keeping cash, making things free. And then I think you're really going to see the bigger moves occur October, November, around the election, or just shortly after. But we will see and keep it posted. But that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I made a few different plays, and I have a few types of plays I want to look at, and I'm going to show you guys the distinction, why I made some of the plays I did on both the call side, why I decided to make some free, and why I even held some completely. That's the first part, but then the next part is a lot of these other plays that we had. These are kind of putting in work, but even the nature of the plays that we made today, you guys are going to have to approach buying calls and puts differently, especially if there's going to be volatility and if it's not really confirmed. But the main play is that oil play. That thing is finally doubled, and the fact that oil's moving, that's what I want to look at. But some of you have pointed some stuff out. Shout out to Maddie. He brought up the Turkish currency. That thing has really been weakening again, and now you're starting to see currencies move. And now this is a little bit broader macro stuff that I look at. However, watch oil and how it relates to the ruble weakening. That is going to be one big thing, and that's why it relates to the USO play. But now there's the Astrazeneca UK study. There was some news after hours that Boris Johnson is going to release some harsher COVID restrictions for businesses, companies, and all that. But even some of that other stuff we talked about yesterday with Brexit and all that coming back, it's important. But one thing I'll have you look at, and that it kind of caught my attention, I think it's, don't get too caught up on this just yet, but it really, the pound looks a lot like the SP 500 here. Again, here's the 2020. It just went right above there, kind of breaking out again and then moving, but there's your good old S&P 500. Looks kind of the same. So even with the S&P right now, this is a key level. This was our first drop when all of that Wuhan started occurring, our original Wuhan zone. But this is something I've noticed. We're pretty much seeing that on a lot of these other currencies. Those same big drops are kind of coinciding. So I'm viewing those as definite key levels there. But in this case, it's not as much as it is technical as it is global currencies moving. And there's a reason. Again, any of these bigger currency moves now, 1.5% on the pound, that catches my attention. And now too, remember a few days ago, that weird news, it was with Russia and them poisoning one of their officials or the spy or whatever that was. However, we said it sounded like a weird novel, but that narrative has not gone away, and that's actually getting some global tension. But the reason would be that could lead to more sanctions, and now that could affect oil. That's the reason why I brought up all of this currency stuff. So little macro lesson, but that should explain why we're holding the play. Now, as far as everything else, I did two different things today. I made two plays on Microsoft and Apple, and then I played them in the sense that I'm going to be keeping cash. We're going to be making plays free, getting time, but the whole strategy is going to be making them free And if a lot of this stuff is happening pre-market, post-market, that is where holding those contracts benefits you. And then you're going to have to react the next day if the market doesn't do anything, have to determine if there's good value or not, or respond quickly and kind of use data to your advantage. You're going to require a lot more activity on that end. However, swing trades, don't underestimate their ability here too, and as well as getting time. So I didn't use the E-Trade account because we got assigned on those McDonald's. So we traded on that bigger TD account that we transferred over, if you remember that. But the first play I made today, and this is what I was saying, again, we already have free contracts. So this is what I'm saying. Keep in mind the strategy and how I'm trying to take advantage of it. And I'll show you the pricing of the contracts. But I let the market react today, see how the contracts moved, and then grabbed a little bit more. So I grabbed 5 of these 170 September 18th puts. Then the next play, I grabbed 30 of these Apple October 73.75 puts at 28 cents. And now both of these plays, I ended up actually going down on them throughout the day. Not as much towards the end of the day, but both of them dropped. You could see here, and I didn't make them free. So I was even up on both of those plays, and I did not decide to make them free. Again, in this case with these contracts, they didn't go up enough. I got them at 60. They even came down to 20. I should have averaged down on those, but they ended up, you could see how these contracts are moving in. These are next week, so it makes sense. But the idea is to keep exposure, especially since I've been more all cash. And I did double dip a little bit extra because I'm still holding a decent amount of free ones from last week and what we were able to do. But they were just on this E-Trade account. I got clap. But that was the first play. The second play was Apple October 20th, 73.75 puts. Got 30 of them at 28 cents. And again, I just think with how Apple's moving, and why I even like Microsoft too, is they are kind of the lagger in all of this. They're not moving as much comparatively. They don't look as clapped compared to Apple. They kind of look the same, but you could see kind of from 2020, it's not the same type of percentage move with the prices. So they're just more stable and slower moving in that sense too. But those were the first 2 plays. And now the next 2 plays, and these ones, I liked them, and I made one of them free because they went up enough. And even then, those Microsofts, there was a little segment to make them free, but it wasn't enough or really kind of worth it. In this case, it was up over 100% on the Starbucks. But then LCA, these went up, and I decided to hold them. But both of these contracts were calls. Got Starbucks September calls and then LCA calls. One was to play the news and kind of a sell the news event. But the thing I like about Starbucks, and this is what I kind of want to show you, where not all the companies pretty much look like Apple or Microsoft. You know, in the 100 days, you could see they've kind of sold off a little bit big. But Starbucks, it's pretty much back where it was a few days ago off of some of these run-ups. So the reason why I like this play, you could see it as the stock was going up this morning. I got it at 18 cents. This means that the stock was, I'm pretty sure, was breaking positive when the market was red, but at 18 cents, it was pretty much cheaper than it was a few days ago. So now it has a lot less time, so it's still a little bit expensive. So that's why I liked it. Now, even to the LCA play, that was the same logic, but the difference was LCA had the CEO coming on, or the Tillman, the guy who made this. This is acquisition fund, I'm pretty sure, for like sports betting, but I thought he would be able to move it a little bit again. However, I still like this prospect, and like I told you guys, I want stuff. I want a little bit of the calls again, because if I'm expecting a cuckening, I'm not only just eyeing some of those puts as we're throwing it out, and you could see they've been doing better comparing it on the 100 days. You could see which stocks have held up and which stocks are reacting. Again, with a lot of it being Apple and the Nasdaq, not everything is going down, and that is what could point to, hey, something's going on. That's what I'm saying, kind of watch these broader factors and maybe even give it some time. But why I like these, because the stock was up 6% today, and I got these at 35 cents. But the reason why I liked it, 35 cents was pretty much the same price as it was every single day. But the stock has kind of stayed up, so that kind of makes sense. But especially on a day like today, even up 6%, given it's kind of been doing this, that didn't affect the options as much. So I thought, hey, I'll grab some of those. We'll hold them, because even if there wasn't an opportunity to make them free, they were still cheap contracts. So that was even the same logic with the Starbucks, but those, I think, went up 100% really, really quickly, so it made more sense to make them free in that instance. But as far as everything else, that is going to be pretty much it. I mean, watching what happens tomorrow. Again, the strategy, like I'm saying, keep cash, reacting to some of these shorter, middle term options, but if they go up a lot, over 100%, get your initial investment back. That's what I've been doing. None of that's a recommendation. It's been working out very, very well here, and it's kind of been allowing us to play these moves, but it requires a little bit more active effort, and you're going to leave some profits on the table, and it's going to be crazy, but still got a little bit more. As far as everything else, the final play, again, kind of you could see how LCA looked in Starbucks and all those, but one thing I like is any of these companies that pretty much have gone up in even though they've dropped, they're at the same price they were a couple days ago and didn't sell off and come below that like Apple. That's kind of the stocks I'm looking for. So I like Walmart. Again, I like Ulta. This is what I'm saying. 3 days ago, a lot of things have dropped, but you can see how they are holding up and acting different. So I like all of those. I'm going to be watching NVAX, Astrazeneca, and all of the companies related to that news. Watch the banks. Bank of America, slow mover. I have those Goldman Sachs puts, but banks really got clobbered today. Again, those aren't tech, so that's interesting to note and keep that in mind. And then finally, there was this GM Nikolai news, but I'm actually more concerned with GM. I think this could be a decent play if there's hype or anything like that, but both of them moved up on a big red day. Keep that in mind, but watch to see how that play out. Give it some time. Finally, TLT had a big move today, but it's all staying in a range. We talked about this today. Don't get too jumpy, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're hydrated, healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. Tell me where you're directing it. Is it a staircase to nowhere, up, down? Where is it? Decide. It is worthy in its success when you say, I'm going to do this, and then you do it, baby. But the code loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.